Opinion: why Trump may seek bigger stakes in geography politics. The widening gulf between Donald Trump and Mexico draws attention to the fact that many water bodies were not always known by the names they are now. Trump is just attempting to do what Western imperial powers did for centuries. They imposed the current names and spellings of areas they captured, which stayed until recently. No one gave much thought to how names of geographical features were given or even changed because the West controlled the narrative. Starting with oceans, the biggest marine entities, the five are known as the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, Arctic and the Southern or Antarctic, the last of which is the most recently named. Seas, gulfs, bays, and sounds are smaller saltwater expanses that are too many to name. But suffice it to say Trump has decided on cartographically capturing the world's largest gulf, that laps the coast of southern U.S. Name changes, needless to add, are a perennial feature of geography politics. The ancient Greek treatise Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, for example, described the lands including India around a vast water body. Erythra means red in Greek, and that originally named Super Sea underwent many name changes and in our era has now split into the Arabian Sea, Gulf of Aden, Persian Gulf, Indian Ocean, and also the Red Sea, that is now only a fraction of what Erythraean Sea originally signified. So Trump's Gulf of Mexico bid actually has many precedents. Even so, it is unlikely to be plain sailing. The U.S. House of Representatives on Thursday passed a Republican-led bill by 211 to 206 votes to rename the Gulf of Mexico as the Gulf of America, moving closer to codifying President Trump's push. The bill now goes to the Republican majority Senate, but they will still need 7 Democratic Party votes to get it through. If passed, U.S. federal agencies will have to update all maps and documents, even if other nations do not. Mexico obviously won't part with its marine legacy either. President Claudia Sheinbaum announced last Friday that Mexico will sue Google for changing Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America on its maps in accordance with Trump's executive order. She has the backing of Cuba, which forms the eastern boundary of the Gulf. They and all other countries are, after all, not obliged to abide by what Trump decrees, even if the bill manages to scrape through the Senate somehow. In this context, the long dispute over the body of water between the Korean Peninsula and Japan provides a glimpse of a possible outcome of this tussle between U.S. and Mexico. The International Hydrographic Organization's Limits of Oceans and Seas publication has listed only the Sea of Japan, but objections have been initiated in 1992 by both Koreas who call it East Sea or Korean East Sea at the UN Conference on the Standardization of Geographical Names. Japan avers that the Sea of Japan has been used for over a century, but the two Koreas use East Sea or Donghae, which they say was the sea's name for 2,000 years. Most international bodies go with any of the three names, with the Korean versions usually in brackets. Significantly, however, the IHO has maintained it is unable to change or add to the name Sea of Japan in its key publication. How Trump will react if the same answer is given to him is anybody's guess. Though India has no disputes over marine names around its peninsula, it has for long had an issue with political maps, as the world insists on describing Kashmir as Indian administered and Pakistan administered, though the princely state had legally acceded to India in 1947. There is little India can do to remedy that, and therefore international organizations including foreign media consistently refer to Kashmir with a prefix. Trump clearly needs to be told about this. But the attitudes of Mexico and the US are understandable. Considering the world's largest gulf has been referred to as Gulf of Mexico since the 16th century, named after Mexica, the Nahuatl endonym for Aztecs, there is every reason for Mexico to resist it being hijacked by the US. The world should be thankful, though, that the Aztec name for the Gulf did not prevail, Chalchiatliquicatl. Then Trump may well have found many takers for his alternative earlier, as the word America is shared by two continents and forms only a part of the name of his own country. Trump has been trying to appropriate or reclaim it in as many ways as possible. Make in America, America first, make America great again have all been drummed into the world's consciousness. That Trump's push for a Gulf of America is being seen as the move to highlight a country rather than two continents seems to indicate a partial success of this campaign. Perhaps someone informed Trump that it used to be called Gulf of Florida before being named after Mexico by the Spanish colonists, thus giving him an additional proprietorial interest in that part of the hydrosphere. Not that the states of the U.S. are underrepresented aqueously. The U.S. has gulfs named after Maine, California and Alaska, a bay after Delaware and a strait after Florida. But Trump must be miffed that all these are much smaller than the Gulf named after Mexico. A lot hinges on how much of the world falls in with Trump's attempt to rewrite oceanography. If he is successful in selling Gulf of America, it could trigger a tsunami of renaming, even if they are coterminous with his presidency. He has already floated a new name, Persian Gulf to Arabian Gulf, which may be aimed at tickling the ego of his reported buddy Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and the other Arab potentates he is slated to meet tomorrow. That proposal name is odd, as a larger expanse of water is already called the Arabian Sea, though the biggest country that abuts it is not Arab at all. It is India. The sea on the other side of the Indian peninsula is called the Bay of Bengal, though the state of West Bengal has just 721 kilometers of coastline bordering it, while Tamil Nadu has 1,068 kilometers and Andhra Pradesh 1,053 kilometers. Bangladesh has a mere 580 kilometers coastline, but may well pitch for Bay of Bangladesh one day, but India's link with the bay is older than the Bengal name. Ancient Greeks called it Gagitikos Kalpo and the Romans called it Sinus Gangeticus, both meaning Ganges Bay or Gulf. West Bengal's Gangasagar Island Sea of Ganges may hark back to the water boatus local name in ancient times. The Burma Sea beside the Bay of Bengal is now called Andaman Sea, but Myanmar has not protested. It simply regards it as an extension of its own Gulf of Martaban. Swipe left for next video. India does not quibble about smaller water bodies as it has the unique distinction of having an ocean bearing its name. Even China has only a couple of seas and 2 marine islets with tags linked to it. Russia has the Siberian Sea, but Putin could do a Trump by renaming the Black Sea as Russian Sea. And Trump may well decide that a gulf is too small for a great America and instead turn to renaming the Atlantic Ocean as the American Ocean. Watch out, world. The author is a freelance writer. Views expressed in the above piece are personal and solely those of the author. They do not necessarily reflect News 18's views. Latest blogs